Okay, y'all know that I like to work outside when I can, and when you're building from scratch and you're cutting your own lumber, you always want to start with a straight edge. Right, sight right down that. Notice the bow in that. It's bowed in on this side, bows out on this side, and in on this side. And it looks like it's better than a 1/4 inch. So what we're going to do is, I mean, if you had a huge joiner or something, you might be able to do this table, or if you spend a lot of time hand planing it, you could plane the edge of that and get it straight. But to start ours off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the shortest point where it's bowed in on this. I put an X right there, and this is the bottom side of the board. This side's going to be on the table, and this is going to be cut. So I measure, geez, I didn't even show my hand. This is the bottom side. It's going to be on the table, and this side is going to be cut. And this is the shortest point, about where I put that X, if you can see it. Anyways, so I'm going to measure from here the distance from the slot on my table to the saw blade. And that's where I'm going to set this 3/4 inch board. Now I'm going to have to cut this in half because it's too tall to ride in my slots, but it slides all the way through width-wise. So it's gonna, first I need to make a straight edge, so I'm going to use a chalk line, and then with that chalk line I'm going to use my 6-foot scale and make sure it's straight all along it, and then I'll go and tack this onto it, and that's all it needs is tacked on. So I'm not going to be ruining any wood by running, and I'll just use little brads to tack it on, and we'll see how that goes. So first we're going to see how well this chalk line lines up with that center line, because that's what we're going for, is the center line where it's the shallowest. That mark right there. And where's the line, I guess? Yep, we're right on top of the line directly, so I'm going to go ahead and snap that.
They got Papa Jim moved from the hospital to the nursing home. And, okay, but yeah, they did get him transferred. And,
kind of a light line.
You remember that spot Grandma had on her
but good enough. And we'll see how straight it is using my straight edge. So I'm going with the straight edge, making lines along where I just did my chalk line, just to make it a little bit more accurate, and to verify it that it's straight the full length of the board. And all right, now we got a line on both ends coming to this middle section. Let's bring this over and see if it runs. Make sure it doesn't bow off of this. And well, in 6 feet, I would say if it bows, it might be 10-15 thousandths. So that's good enough. So now what we're going to do is cut this, and this is the saw over here. So this board will be on this side of this line, and I'll run down this whole length and tack it. The board is fairly flimsy. I can move it quite a bit. I'll put it right on that line, and then tack it down with brads. Not very deep, just enough to hold it side to side. Well, I've got brads pounded in about every 10 inches or so, and real straight. Now we'll just put it on the saw and run it right down that. And my in-feed and out-feed rollers are just beyond where that where the T-slot board is going to be running. So, well, I decided it was easier to set up the in-feed and out-feed roller to just roll along that. And well, let's see how it goes. Probably need to go up about another right there. All right, and of course we're not using the fence. It's backed off of it, I guess. Yeah, can back it out of the way so you can see maybe. All right, just one of those calipers here. All right. Notice I have the length of this sticking out the front, and that's important. Coming out the back of it isn't important, but giving you a lead in, you know, while you're coming into it. That way you're not sitting there. If it's just started right here, you'd be in this little area, you know, jerking it back and forth. Let's see how it works. Pushing in, almost like a feathering board. I'm pushing in against that beam that I put on there. Wow, couldn't have done that much better. Came right to the very edge of the board and cleaned it all up. So now we'll just look down the board, and I did have a point where it seemed to jump a little bit, and it's pretty darn straight. Yeah, you got a good straight board there. And now we got a straight edge. Now we can really start working. So I went across and pulled pulled the strip off, and of course all the brads stuck in the boards, and just pried them out real quick. And now I'm going to flip the board over and use this straight edge to cut all the geodetic. Now, of course, we're going to be cutting against the fence. Now, it's difficult to cut long boards like this, and you don't want anybody helping you either, because somebody touching the board way out there puts just a little bit of pressure, puts a lot of torque moment, and can move the board. And you don't want to be bending your saw. Anyways, yeah, don't have anybody helping you on the in-feed, out-feed. Get the rollers. And so now we'll just get the caliper. The way I like to do it is just zero the calipers at 1/8 of an inch, which is the saw kerf width. And I've got a nice, well, it's still fairly new blade on there. And so it cuts 1/8 of an inch. And make sure you get the right tooth. They don't change a whole lot, but all right, so just bring this out. Now, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to cut a 1/4 inch And that is so that I can make some, well, I'm going to cut several 1/4-inch strips so that I can do my specific gravity test for this board, but also so I can start cutting rib caps, which are 1/4-inch square. And that way I can start working on wing ribs, because wing ribs, they take a long time. So we're going to go ahead and start by cutting 1/4-inch strips. We're going to set it right at 1/4. This is commercial white ash. If they're slightly under that, that would be okay. And the first thing we do, after we cut our first one is we measure its thickness, just to verify that we're pretty close. We're not machinists here, well, I mean I am, but you don't have to be a machinist here. And I don't know if you can see, but my health has increased a lot. I thought this was going to be my going away present to one of my kids, but I started this lion diet, nothing but beef, salt, water, and 10 days after that, now I can breathe, I can move, still feeling the exhaustion in my muscles some, but hey, I'll take what I got. I will not eat another thing until I'm sure that I've gotten all I can get just from the beef, salt, and water. After that, I might start adding some vegetables, and one at a time, totally fresh, whole vegetables from our local supplier. But let's see how this goes. See how hard it is to push this heavy board, partly because of all the friction on the table and its weight. It's a pretty heavy board because it's commercial white ash. Here's the first one. A lot of this is usable right here. I can't use that. Yeah, from here up, I won't be able to use that up for rib caps. And I'm just gonna do how much do I have here? I'm gonna do two more just for testing and rib caps and stuff like that. Oh yeah, that's the other thing for glue up testing. That's so. Two more. We'll do 2 more of these, and then we'll go to the real thin Geodetic. Forgot to turn the camera off. You don't need to watch all this. Well, I took my coat off because it was so warm with the sun. Now the sun going down, it's only 45 degrees. So now, look here at this grain. So this here area, I'm not going to be able to use. Now right after that, almost the entire rest of the board is really good grain. But right in there, that's not going to be any good. And incidentally, yeah, I only cut 3 strips, but those 3 strips will give me 3. Should be able to get 3 1/4-inch strips off of them. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the 1/8-inch geodetic. Well, the clouds have come out and the wind has come up, so it's getting pretty chilly now. But I'm this here for the geodetic. You want to get this real accurate to within 1/8 of an inch. Not so much for the bow that we're doing on the rudder and the other bows, but for using the geodetic as geodetic, going across the wings and building the ribs. You want that as accurate as you can. Well, you want it as accurate as you can to the saw curve. Whatever your saw curve cuts, if it cuts 130 thousandths, you want that, you want your geodetic to be about 130 thousandths thick. If it's just under 1/8 of an inch, 120, 115 thousand, try to get that. I mean, that is kind of machinist-like accuracy, but still, try to get it as close as you can so that it fits snugly into the slot of the rib caps. We'll see how this here goes. About 20,000 too big. All right, we'll go ahead and try this. Don't ever want to push much into your saw and then pull back. That little bit ain't going to hurt you, but you get more than to the peak of your blade here, halfway across, you don't want to pull that back out. That's a little bit too thin. I'm just going to bump it. Oh, man, that's too much. Dang it. Oh, 124 thousandths. We're going to run with that. And then once I get it out, I'll run along the length of it and get a good estimate. I don't know if you noticed the gap that was gaining and losing right here. This big board, I was starting to get a little bit off on the straightness of the edge of the board, but I knew where it was. So I allowed it to come away from the fence and go back into it just by feel. And you can do that with experience, but anyways, I've got the board really straight on this here edge.